Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is Kid Ikarus, and this is my podcast. My guest today is a hip hop artist from Lawton, Oklahoma. You can find his track PTSD and his my favorite of his projects, Three for You, both over on Spotify. Please welcome Hunter Hadley.
What's going on?
Ha 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 ha! Because actual episodes start with laughing.
Oh yeah.
That I just feel like that's a thing in podcasting. You know, theme song comes in and then everyone's laughing when it comes back, and I don't know why. Um, yeah. So,
Oh
what is up, Hunter? How are you
man,
doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. I am. There's some fights going on right now,
Yeah.
and I did not know they started this early, but
Mm.
they're going on right now. I may miss the main event, but I found this site where I can watch all of them afterwards pretty
Mm.
easily, and it runs really well afterwards. So I'm still going to be able to see them at the time I expected them to. But let's see, man. You've got some projects out on Spotify, and I've been listening to them for the past couple weeks since we booked this.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you what, one of the things that strikes me about your music, so I mentioned that Three for You might be my favorite of your projects.
Hmm.
That first track, Never Stop, has like three different voices that you do,
Yeah.
and like it's a pretty cool thing where like the beat is pretty static throughout, but you're able to bring in dynamics by changing up your voices.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your thoughts on the whole changing up your voices? You got like multiple hooks, it's almost like, because each time you change your voice it's a new catchy section.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you purposefully try to be like, is that the thought process, I'm gonna change the dynamics with my voice to try and switch it up?
I pretty much kind of just do what's natural, you
Okay.
know. But that comes from influences like Kendrick and Eminem and like all the legends.
Yeah.
They can. You might hear one song and it sounds like this, and this song sounds like a totally different person. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, just try to do what's natural and switch it up when I can.
Okay.
You know,
How did you start getting into making music? What's your musical background? Do
uh,
you do you have do you play any instruments?
regrettably, no,
Okay.
for now.
So background started with hip hop.
Yeah, yeah. Like taking it seriously, probably like 16, 15,
Okay.
or at least like writing hip hop and starting to write songs, started recording.
Hmm.
But my first rap name was LPJ, and that was Little Pimp Juice, and I was
Okay.
7 years old. My mom's boyfriend gave that to me, so I always wanted to rap, for a
Okay.
long time. So yeah, just started in high school and made a mixtape, started selling it in high school, Lawton High, and you
All
know.
right. So as a little kid, where were the people in your life bringing hip hop into? Who was it that was giving you inspiration and stuff?
Well, my mom, she
Hmm.
loved Eminem and Tech Nine and
Okay.
ICP and Snoop Dogg. That was the first album
Okay.
I ever got was a Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg. And my dad liked heavy metal, so a lot of
Okay.
Pantera and Hatebreed and System of a Down. So just like a mixture.
That's funny. I feel like my parents were something similar.
Hmm.
I don't think my mom will admit it, but she was a big fan of like the late '90s hip hop. She'd always like be like watching DMX or Tupac movies. Like they'd
Yeah,
be in movies. And but she's a good Christian lady, so all
gotcha.
that foul music she
Gotcha.
doesn't
Like an
like.
undercover fan.
Yeah.
Almost.
And I remember Doggy Style specifically, like that was my brother's birthday party when I was like 8 or something. That was like
Damn.
the soundtrack to it,
Wow.
which fantastic album. I
Yeah.
think is not brought up enough. Like I know that it's
Hmm.
considered a classic by a lot of people, but I don't think it is like the magnitude of how good that album is. I
Hmm.
don't think is brought up enough because it is distinct from the rest of the like G Funk era stuff,
Yeah.
because it's kind of got this much more aggressive drum tone to it. Like
Yeah.
it's fast, which is weird because Snoop Dogg's so laid back, but you get tracks like Murder Is the Case that they gave me where like that's coming in hard, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
And I think it's not mentioned enough by people.
100%. When you said aggressive before you said it, that was what was in my head. It's
Yeah.
even, his the rest of his discography, that one is, I think he was just hungry,
Yeah.
young. He was so young and just
Yeah. Young and
had Dr.
fresh
Dre
and
with him.
hadn't softened up by his career yet, hadn't made
Mhm.
enough money to be like, all right, I can relax yet.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so when you were in high school and you started taking it seriously, why? Why did you do
Mm.
that?
Well,
Why not start taking calculus seriously or something?
well, I always loved hip hop, right? So
Mm,
I just already loved it. And when you see progression, it makes you want to motivate. It like motivates you. So
mm,
like if you start off writing not so good and then your writing gets better, it's like
yeah.
motivating.
Mm,
And uh, from third grade to 11th grade, I went to this place called Student Adjustment Center. So it was like instead of being suspended for a period of time, you go to this school where it's like different times, and I got in trouble a lot.
mm.
And
Sorry, I'm gonna keep
no
talking.
problem.
I just gotta fix something real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, you'd be in a cubicle, and the teacher wouldn't really be helping you out. So I
Mm,
just kind of was like, all right, fuck school.
yeah.
So, you know, just stuck with music. I dropped out, and
Okay.
just stuck with the music.
How old are you?
27.
Okay.
Yeah,
So at what point did you come to LA?
2018.
2018. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the moment? Why did you decide like I'm gonna go all the way across the country?
Well, so my homie Jordan, who you met at St. Pierre,
Mm.
he was here a year and a half before me, and he was telling me
Is
like,
he
yo,
also from Oklahoma?
yeah, it's
Oh,
where we met in,
I
in
did
high school.
not know that.
Yeah, well, he's kind of from all over,
Okay.
Army,
Yeah.
mom, but so yeah, he was like, man, you need to come out here, way more opportunity.
Yeah.
At the time, I was in a relationship that went kaput, and I was like, it's time to go,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
took my drive.
It's it's interesting. I used to be in this punk band when I was right after my senior year of high school and my first year of college. I was in this hardcore punk band, and we played shows a bunch. We released one album eventually. It's okay for what it is. It's we put on a fantastic show though. Like our
Okay.
music was all right. Our shows were the best.
Oh,
But I had the opportunity to have the band Close Your Eyes stay at my house once,
hmm.
and while they recorded an album, and I was talking to them like, how do you guys schedule tours? Do you guys like get spots in other places where you have to sell pre-sale and stuff? Because in LA, that's how you get shows. Is you get like, all right, you're gonna get this show, but you gotta sell 20 tickets at $10 a piece.
Yeah.
And they're from Texas, and they were like, that's not really a thing other
Yeah.
places. I mean, they were like, that's pretty much just a California and New York thing. And I was like, oh,
Mm.
okay. So how is it in Oklahoma? How's the getting shows out there?
Man, when I was doing shows in Oklahoma, it was like super small shows, like
Yeah.
coffee shops, and
Mm,
they're just hooking us up and letting us go. High school kids just, So I haven't been back. We did one show where we rented out like a coliseum and had like probably like 10 artists perform, and it was really cool.
yeah.
But yeah, I get it. As far as LA, you got to sell a certain amount of tickets, and
Mm.
you know sometimes the shows are not so filled, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
all right.
I think it's less so in hip hop because we're all like individuals and it's harder
Mm,
with bands particularly like because you got like five people, 20 tickets is only like four people and you eat half of them anyways, so it's like $20, you know.
yeah.
But like with hip hop artists, like I had taken a few shows at Chain Reaction when I was in high school as a hip
Mm,
hop artist, and Chain Reaction's a all age punk club in Anaheim. Great venue. If you ever get an opportunity to play there, it's fantastic. But
Okay.
the promoters that I worked with were hardcore promoters, and they were kind of like, we can't fill a hip hop show. Here you go, here's 20 tickets, sell them for $10 each. And it was like nobody there. Nobody would ever be there. I think that once I started doing more hip hop, like hip hop promoters seem to understand more. Like the most I ever get told is like, hey, bring like 5 people. And it's like, yeah, that's reasonable. 20
Yeah.
people, it's a bit much.
I think sometimes it's like, because I've brought in people before
Yeah.
to a show,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still nobody there. So then it's
Right?
still depressing. So it's
Yeah.
like sometimes I'd rather just go solo,
Mm-hmm.
see how it is,
Mm-hmm.
and then then we'll do another show, and now I'll invite
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But if it's
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I enjoy. I went to a show recently. This past weekend, I went to 2 shows in Reseda for Young Baka Productions. Shout out Young Baka.
Shout out Young Baka.
They hit me up on a Saturday and they were like, it's short notice, but can you play it on Sunday? And I was like, yeah, sure. But short notice, I wasn't gonna be able to get anybody to go. I hit up some people that were like, nah, not able to. Plus Reseda is pretty far. But I won over the regulars at the bar. I was like, I kind of like that.
Mm.
They were like, older people and like not really into hip hop, I don't think, but I won at least one of them over.
Oh, yeah?
One of them was like, I listen to a lot of metal and stuff, but like I really like Atmosphere, and you reminded me of Atmosphere, and I was like, thank you, man. I love Atmosphere.
Hell yeah.
So it's fun to go to shows where you don't know anyone and be like, I'm gonna win over these people who aren't even here for the show. They're just here to drink and play pool.
I feel you on that. And some of them will last. You can make a relationship with one of them, or they'll follow you for so long, and it does. Even when it's not packed or anything, you can still make an impact. And
I like knowing that one day they might hear my name again and be like, oh yeah, I saw that person once. My mom tells this story about how like a friend of hers Sublime threw their tape through her window when they were young because one of their band members had a crush on her and was like, hey, check out my band. And she was like, these creeps keep following me around. They gave me their tape, but it ended up being Sublime. They didn't know, and so like I want to give people those stories to tell,
sure.
Yeah, I know that guy. I've seen him before,
Yeah, he passed out the podcast sticker.
yeah, exactly. What are some of the best places you've performed here in LA?
Los Globos is cool. And I'm bad with names, man. I'm really bad with names.
Just describe it. Just describe a place that you've experienced.
Well, there's also a place called the Foxhole on Hollywood Boulevard. It got shut down, but that was cool. Probably the coolest show was when me and Boris, we did the Ted Bundy tape, and I think it was a Baka show.
Okay.
Well, maybe not a Baka show, but we're screaming and all this, and it was totally different than just the rap that was the rest of the performances. And we saw these people in the back, and they were into it, know. And after the show, they like brought us over there. They had some stuff for us, some some goodies, and it was a crazy night.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I had assumed, knowing you were from Oklahoma, that maybe like a lot of your stuff was made in Oklahoma and then you came here. But Boris, the Ted Bundy tapes, you recorded that here as well?
Yeah.
You say your mom was into hip hop, your dad was into metal. What kind of music did you listen to the most during like your formative years, your late high school years?
Man, well, definitely a lot of Kid Cudi. That's like my top. Eminem and Kid Cudi are like tied for me.
Okay. That's a good combo.
Yeah,
Mixing those two styles together
yeah,
makes some good music.
they're legends, man. A lot of Kanye, Kendrick, Drake.
Okay, so mainly hip hop was the music you were listening to.
Yeah, mainly. I liked a band named I still like them, Chevelle. If
Oh,
you heard of
yo,
Chevelle.
Chevelle's dope.
Yeah, it's a band. Have you heard of Hurt?
Yes, I've
Yeah.
not a band though. I've not heard of a band called Her. When you said it, I thought maybe, but I'm thinking of that song by Johnny Cash and Nine Inch
Oh
Nails.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cage the Elephant. As far as like now, as far as like branching off from hip hop, I like Cage the Elephant.
Cage the Elephant's dope.
There's an artist named Baby Rose. You ever heard of Baby Rose?
Not heard of Baby Rose.
Yeah, she sounds like a 70-year-old like soul singer, but she's like 25.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Rehab one.
Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, that's what I like about Amy Winehouse. She sounds like she's from the 50s or something. Yeah,
exactly. Rest in peace.
Yeah, Chevelle, man. Chevelle is one of those bands that I tried to learn every song on guitar off of their album Wonder What's Next. Like that album, like I went through and learned like every song off of it. The first Linkin Park album I did that with. Well, it's Good Charlotte. There was a Good Charlotte album that I learned. Like there's a few bands that was like, I want to be able to play this style, and Chevelle was one of them. Chevelle is fantastic.
The vocalist, man, that dude,
really good.
It's like
Crazy,
crazy.
It's almost like Tool light. Like he's got a similar vocals to Tool, but they're not as 8-minute songs that go on a bit too long about him. Not to say anything bad about Tool. Yes. Tool's great too.
Shout out Tool.
But sometimes you got to mix some poppy elements into the music,
Yeah, a little bit.
Which brings me back to your music, because you got some more aggressive underground kind of stuff and some more poppier tracks. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This Ted Bundy tapes. How'd you get into that style? Like,
man. So like I said, my dad. Like he has CFH tattooed on him from Pantera, so I listened to a lot of Pantera, and I didn't even know who the Suicide Boys were when we were making it. After we released it, I'm hearing, sounds kind of like Suicide Boys, which they're dope.
Yeah.
But really, man, it's just sometimes it's whatever the music calls for. So if it's like a poppy beat, then it'll be some pop type stuff. Like there's a song called "Where Did We Go." It's like super inspired by Hey Ya by Andre 3000, but at the time, first time I meet Boris, or first time I go to record, he has crystals, like a whole shelf of crystals and like a Buddha book and all this, but he's like long hair, super tatted dude, and then he pulls out an AR from under his bed, and it was just the combination, the environment was just this vibe, and the beats were just aggressive, and we just went in there, and he screams too. He's the only other rapper I met at that time who also, screams. So just
when did that come out?
2020.
2020?
I think 2020, yeah. And then we were working on an Ed Gein tape.
Yeah,
and then he like switched. No more hip hop. He's doing like alternative rock music now.
Oh, really?
So,
that's
we'll
interesting. I want to check that out. I'm always looking for more, because I'm constantly going to hip hop shows. I see too many hip hop artists. Like I got a long list of hip hop artists to listen to. I don't get that same with like rock bands, which like I enjoy that kind of music. Shout out to Doulos. They're a Christian straight edge punk band that I met at the end in the last summer, and they're dope. I had their guitarist on here. I'm a big fan of meeting bands.
It's a hell of a combination. Christian straight edge.
Some of them are vegan.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Hey.
They have this fantastic Ninja Turtle shirt that I bought when I saw them. It's just Ninja Turtles and then their name on it.
And what's their name? Doulos?
Doulos, yeah.
Doulos, okay.
It's
shout out Doulos.
Yeah, some kind of biblical term.
Sure.
Yeah, so Ted Bundy tapes, fantastic.
Thank
The hardcore vocals, as I call them, excellent.
thank you,
Yeah,
man.
2020. So it was at that time who a lot of people bring up the Suicide Boys, and I have never really listened to them because I also do screaming in my music,
Oh,
and like yeah, a lot of people bring up the Suicide Boys. I liked the person who I liked that does it is XXX. Um, there's
legend.
there's something about his screaming when he does it that tells me like, oh, this guy's a part of the scene. Where a lot of the other rappers that bring in screaming, I feel like they're trying to capitalize on a trend.
Yeah, man. 100%.
Yeah. Though, like, I didn't feel that with your guys's.
Well, thank you.
It felt authentically metalcore or something.
Well, thank you, man.
Were you into like the like Warp Tour scene?
I don't know too much about Warp Tour.
No.
Um, no, I don't. But as far as like your point,
So no moshing in your background.
well, I wouldn't say that necessarily. My mom took me to a Papa Roach
Okay.
concert when I was younger, and
Yo, Papa Roach was a huge influence on me too.
Papa Roach, man. I think they might have. I don't know. It might have been Pantera. They might have broken up by that time. I know
Mhm.
they've seen Pantera, but it was some rock show where like I went on somebody's shoulders, and I remember that. I've been to a Chevelle show. Uh, Not a lot of moshing though.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we need to. I need
Yeah.
to get my stripes in.
Yeah. You gotta take some
Yeah.
lessons. There's a great plea for purging video that's like a how-to tape. It's like a goofy 80s workout vibe, but it's like how-to mosh.
Got you.
It's fantastic. There was a era in metalcore music where like every music video was super goofy.
Hmm.
Just to mix with their super aggressive music. It's a good combination. Is in your music, is there a message that you want to give people? Is there a does it or possibly does it change throughout each project?
That's a good question. First and foremost, it would just be um, just expression. So before any
Yeah.
message, it's just my own expression,
Yeah.
and everything will be a little different. Um, and there's certain songs that will have a message. Like I'm working on this EP, which will have PTSD. It'll have a song called Disregard, and the song that you heard at the Baka show. But there's a song called Walk Over Me. That's like super personal to me. It's probably my favorite song. Deals with suicide. I got semicolon tattooed on me. And uh, yeah, just I guess the message would be in the skill, showing my skill would be whatever you want to do, you can do. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mm-hmm.
a dude who dropped out of school, had no chance at a college or this or that, but I
Mm-hmm.
stuck to rapping, and I'm a high level rapper, lyrically, and so that would be one thing. And a lot of my music, you'll hear me talk about suicide or this or that, and to keep going, it gets better, and we're all in it together.
You mentioned the semicolon tattoo. I don't. Is that a known symbol? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a suicide awareness
Okay.
symbol. So basically, like a period stops a sentence, and the semicolon it could stop, but it
Okay.
keeps going.
Okay. I see.
So
That's clever. They got some good marketing at the
yeah,
suicide people.
hotline. Yeah, whoever
Yeah.
trademarked the
Yeah.
semicolons
The
banking
guy.
right now.
Yeah. Um, not to get dark. But why? Why keep going?
Why keep going,
Yeah.
man? You know, mostly it's because family and like friends.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't want to. If I was just by myself, maybe the
Yeah.
story would have ended. But I don't want to cause any pain to my family or friends. And also, man, it's like things can get better. Like
Okay.
things can get better, and And sometimes a situation ends up being a blessing that you don't know about, or it prepares you for something else and you're able to handle the next thing better. And, you know, all the potential in the world is in the future. So
Yeah.
you don't know. It could be bad or it could be good. And if you stop now, you don't know what the ending's going to be. You don't know how, you know, I feel responsible for my family. I feel responsible for my friends, even though they're all responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
I still feel responsible. And if I just check out, then, you know.
What do you think? Do you have any good advice? Or it doesn't have to be good. It could be just decent.
I'm going to give you some shitty advice right now.
Yeah. Anything better, anything more than 0 is what I'm saying. Anything,
Okay.
It could be 0.2, you know, but greater
okay.
than 0 is greater than 0, you know.
I'll try.
Any advice, you say it could be bad, future could be bad, it could be good. Any advice on how to make it lean more towards the good?
Man, for me, meditation is probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
You know, I meditate every day. That helps a lot with clearing your head and anxiety, and meditation, exercise, reading, you know, expression, however you can express yourself, you know, find a passion that you look forward to doing and that gives you a reason to wake up, you know.
Okay.
Those are things for me.
Right on.
You know?
Yeah, I think that,
and it's still a struggle, you know. We stay prayed up.
Yeah, I think that's some good advice. I mean, the exercise, I think, my whole life I've been a fat kid. I've gone up and down, but most of my life I've been heavier. And I didn't realize how much eating bad and not moving affected my brain. I'm a pretty anxious person. I am awkward and like uncomfortable talking to people.
Me too.
Oh yeah, so, right on.
You know,
cheers to that.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize, like, once I started working out, and it could be a group of different things, because it could be the fact that I'm exercising on its own that helped. It could be the fact that my exercise that I started doing was fighting. So like that may have relieved some anxiety, because now I feel more confident to be able to defend myself. And it could be just the fact that I've gotten older that the anxiety has gone away, because I think that's a thing. I'm not a teenager anymore, and I think teenagers are generally more anxious. But I do think that when I have the combination of eating right and exercising, that I'm much more clear-headed. Like if I start eating bad at 2 p.m., I will be basically drunk for the rest of the day. I don't have to drink any alcohol, but if I ate like 2 pounds of candy, which I am liable to do, that's how much of a fat person I am on the inside. I don't just get 1 bag of candy if I'm eating candy. I will get 3 and then some donuts as well. Like,
I get it, man.
Yeah, that stuff fogs up your brain a lot.
You get groggy, you get sleepy. It affects the whole rest of your day, your interactions with people, your self-image. You know, the next day you're walking around like, damn, I just ate all that candy and donuts. You know?
Right.
It matters so much. Diet.
So I think that exercise is a good tip. I was just talking, I think, on one of the recent episodes of this about reading is one of the few forms of entertainment that require you to participate. You can't just turn a book on and sit back and turn your brain off. You know, you actually have to engage with it, which is why people don't like reading. But I think it's why it's a healthier form of entertainment than, say, like TV or something, because it requires a bit of work. And I think that little bit of work that it takes to read is the same thing that it takes to exercise. It's the thing that goes, all right, I'm making a choice to live right now. I'm not living because I'm here. I'm actually deciding to keep doing something, you know? So I think that's a major thing.
I think it might stick with you more too when you read something compared to like just turning on a YouTube video.
Yeah, you know? You have to you almost have to become the author in a way, because you have to repeat their words in your own head. So it's almost like you're downloading a piece of them, right?
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing, right? That
It's like,
we can take words from a dead person and take thoughts from a dead person and put them in our own brain.
yeah, bro.
Uh,
There's AI before AI,
yeah, right.
because now it's getting crazy. I wanted to ask you, since we're on the topic of books,
Yeah.
like, what's the last one you read that really stuck out to you, that, whether it be helpful or just one you
Yeah.
enjoyed? Or,
I that's turning the interview around on me. That's
you
against
know,
the rules, bro. But
uh-huh.
no, that's actually I got an easy answer for that. It's called "The Sun Also Rises" by Ernest Hemingway.
Mm.
And it stuck out to me because are you a fan of Kevin Smith movies, like Clerks and
Before you,
Mallrats and
oh,
stuff?
okay, yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I was thinking of who's the Kevin Spacey.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
was I was gonna
No,
joke before he got canceled, but nah,
yeah.
Kevin Smith's awesome.
So Sun Also Rises is about basically about Ernest Hemingway and his buddies going on a drunken vacation to Spain to see the running of the bulls.
Hmm.
It's not like the main character's not named Ernest Hemingway, but it's clearly just him and his other writing buddies. And it is so relatable that it's shocking to know it was written in the 20s. Like it sounds like a group of people from today's time. I mean, it's him and this girl that he used to date, and this Jew that they know.
Shout out the Jews. I got some Hebrew blood in me.
Yeah, it's a bit anti-Semitic, or at least the characters in it are a bit
shit.
anti-Semitic. But he's Robert Cohen. He's kind of like a nice guy, and
Okay.
he goes on this trip with the girl and they hook up and now he's in love with her. And so all the drama in the book is about him trying to make her love him, but she's like, no, I just hooked up with you. It's not a big deal. You need to calm down. And like, it's from the 20s and it's like, wow, I did not know that relationships were exactly the same in the 20s that they are now. So that's what stood out to me in that book.
Okay. And it's When the Sun Rises?
The Sun Also Rises.
The Sun Also Rises. Ernest Hemingway. Okay.
Fantastic little drama. What about you? What was a recent book that stood out to you?
Probably the 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I wanna go back to it.
Yeah,
I read it on my phone. I want to get the hard copy soon and refresh my memory a little bit.
I enjoy hard copy books over the phone. I love the feel and the smell of a book. It's much better that way. I actually had that on audio tape. Tape on Audible.
Audible,
yeah. It's a pretty good book.
Yeah, some crazy stuff in it. Like the lobster with the serotonin and standing up straight and
I was somebody who would have turned my nose up at the advice to stand up straight because I'm like, that's some old school, like I don't buy that. But you get a science lesson thinking about, oh no, this stimulates serotonin production, and it's like, okay, yeah, that actually does sound helpful now.
Yeah, man. Have you ever? Did you ever, like, after you read that chapter, did you try it?
I definitely do it more now. Yeah.
It feels weird though. You put your shoulders back and this, and I do it, but I always feel like I wonder if they know that I'm doing this, Yo, or do you feel better
at that? I have a tendency when I sit down to do the whole like both arms back thing. I went to that show that you performed at, and I went into the comedian room, and there was like 3 people in there. I guess the show had basically ended and the comedian on stage was just talking to some audience members and stuff. I sat down in the back, put my arms up, and immediately the dude was like, hey, yo, what's your deal? You one of those MMA guys? And I was like, oh, snap. Yeah, I am one of those. Yeah.
I wonder how we knew that.
I was wondering the same thing, and I assume it's because I sat down like that. I had my shoulders back. He was like, you're walking in here like you don't got a care in the world. Like, all right, I'm glad to know that I'm giving that vibe out.
Yeah, man. All the exercise and diet from
that's right.
The anxiety to
getting the clear head,
shouting you out.
Do you have you performed at a few shows with those? I know Baca sets up a bunch that do the hip hop and the comedy.
When I first came to LA, I did. That's where I met Boris. Okay. And so I'm always grateful to Baca for that. Because Boris is like one of the closest friends in LA that I have.
Mhm.
And I kind of started recording a little bit more instead of performing, and
Okay. Yeah.
but I went to that one,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, so that was cool. I'm
Uh,
glad he's still doing his thing.
yeah. I just asked that because like I'm a big comedy fan. Do you ever
Mm.
go to comedy shows? Are you a comedy fan?
Yeah, we went to I think it was a Comedy Store, and we saw Bobby
Oh,
Lee.
nice. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a big
That
fan of Tiger
sounds a
Belly and
fun time.
fucking The
Yeah.
Fighter and the Kid, and
Okay,
all
so
of that.
so you're up on the drama then
A little
between
bit.
the fighter and the kid and him. Like, I guess what happened? Like the fighter and the kid assumed that Bobby Lee's fans were out to get him or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm trying to get on both the shows, so I don't have too much to say. But
Okay,
I'm a
yeah,
fan of them both, and
right
yeah. Do
on.
you watch any of those?
I don't watch either of those. I've watched a episode or two of both of them, but not regularly. Did you ever hear Bobby Lee on the Dr. Drew podcast?
I've heard Dr. Drew on Bobby Lee's podcast,
Okay,
but maybe not the other way around.
yeah. Bobby Lee's life story is just rough. Like he's got some
Yeah,
rough
man.
stories. Like he was doing meth that as a teenager and
Yeah.
getting molested and
By
stuff.
by a special ed person,
Yeah.
which he jokes about.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, man, meth at like 14 and was sober and then relapsed, but he's doing good, and crazy life,
Yeah.
crazy life.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I am a big fan of sober people, like people who have had struggles and
Yeah,
became sober,
yeah,
because like one of the things that AA does is make people proactively seek out the good. Like they gotta like fix the relationships that they broke and stuff.
yeah, man.
And like I think that there is a problem with people generally where they just go along with life and try not to be a bad person as opposed to purposefully trying to do good, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I shout out to all the sober people out there who are trying to do good.
True
That's
that,
some
man.
tough work there.
Um,
Yeah.
I know people like super close to me that got sober
Mm-hmm.
with no AA or anything, and I have people real close to me that are like going to AA, and like um, I'll get sent like a meditation of the day every morning,
Oh
and
yeah.
like it's super inspiring, man. Like a year ago, this person is down on their luck, super
Yeah.
super messed up, and then a year later, I'm like looking at them for inspiration,
Yeah.
and yeah, motivated, and you know journaling, and like I think he calls it like a daily inventory. Every night he
Yeah.
like checks, hey, was I honest? Was I a good person? Did I help people? It's like there's a lot to learn from that, even if you don't have a problem, so
Yeah,
to speak.
exactly. Right. I mean
So,
that alone, like a daily inventory of like reflecting and being like, did I do good? Because I think
yeah,
most people just assume they did. You know,
yeah,
I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I did all right. I didn't hurt anybody today. Where it's like, could you have done better?
yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna be doing a daily inventory of this podcast.
oh yeah,
Was I okay? Could they tell I was nervous in the beginning? Uh, we'll see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
Yeah.
Did I talk too much? Did I not ask enough questions?
Nah, it's been cool.
Did you ever have any drug problems?
No, not really. When I was
No
young,
heroin or meth in your path?
no,
In your path?
or no. Basically, my parents were on drugs, so like they
Okay.
were on meth,
Yeah.
and then my mom got sober, and my dad stayed on it a little bit. We they got on meth here in California,
Okay.
and because my dad was in the Navy, and then got kicked out. We go back. Dad stayed on it. And the first time I ever took a hit of anything, I was like probably 7 or something. It was like aluminum foil pipe,
Okay.
and I didn't get high, thankfully. So I don't know if that was meth or weed.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, started smoking a lot from like 12 to 15, maybe, like every day, like a lot of weed. sometimes I'll pop a little pain pills or this or that, but
Mhm.
nothing crazy. And then started rapping, stopped smoking, and even now in LA,
Yeah.
I was cultivating weed,
Yeah.
uh, for a company, and everybody else was smoking and taking dabs, and I was the only one not smoking,
Yeah.
So, yeah. What about
That's
you?
cool. I was never addicted to anything, but I have a general addictive personality. Like I get bored real easily, and I don't cure that boredom with anything healthy. I
Mm,
cure it with anything I can do that doesn't take responsibility or any kind of effort.
yeah,
And drugs are kind of the perfect thing for that. It doesn't you don't need any
yeah,
responsibility to get it, and it doesn't really take that much effort. All you got to do is pay for it, which is
yeah.
super easy, especially depending on which drug it is. Because some drugs are super cheap, and you can spend 8 hours on acid, and it's like, yeah, whatever.
Now we
Um,
could maybe clarify some drugs. I don't really consider drugs.
okay,
Like
so
mushrooms,
psychedelics and
we'll
stuff,
be okay with
not
that.
quite drugs.
LSD,
Yeah,
once in a lifetime for me. I was
yeah,
cool on my one time. What about
yeah.
you?
I taken it several times.
Gotcha.
I am very when it comes to psychedelics, it's something that requires a certain amount of planning
Mm,
because like nearly every time I took it was like um, it makes me go like, is this the best use of your time right now? And then I start tripping out on that, like, is this the best use? This isn't. I could have been doing something else,
yeah,
but
and
now
now
I'm
you're in
stuck
it.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I assume that at some point in my life where I'm like, no, I do feel like it's the right place, like then I'll be okay. But like for all I know, that time will never come,
Mm.
and so that's okay. Um, yeah, as far as other drugs, I used to do coke every once in a while, but my
Yeah.
friends hated how I did it
Mm.
because I am a cheap bastard, and I would get like 2 grams, and they'd be like, "All right, let's do it all tonight," and then I would be like, "No." Like I'll give you guys like 2 lines. I'm keeping the rest to just kind of take little bumps throughout my week.
Smart,
Yeah.
saving it, being
Um,
responsible.
and I'll tell you what, if that was sold at a drugstore, I would still be doing it. The problem with it, I think, because like I could do it pretty responsibly without getting addicted. Because, like
That's
I
what they
said,
all say.
yes,
That's what they all say.
but they're also blowing the whole 2 grams over one weekend. I would keep it for a couple weeks. I don't want to support the industry. You know what I'm saying?
Mm, mm.
It's a the worst people in the world sell coke. Maybe not the worst people. I'm sure there's a few worse people. The
Yeah,
heroin dealers are probably worse. I mean, they're out there selling
yeah,
humans too. But I guess
yeah.
coke industry's out there selling humans too. So like, yeah,
Fentanyl, man. Fentanyl, I'd say, is like the
yeah.
thing now. That's so.
I
It's
have
terrible.
I have a conspiracy theory that
Mm.
that it's not really a big issue. It's just something that it's propaganda from the
Shit,
government.
bro. You gotta meet some people on fentanyl, bro. Change your mind, dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've talked to somebody once that said they smoked fentanyl, but they also seemed like they were lying.
That's a weird thing to lie about.
I think they were trying to seem edgy.
Idiots.
Yeah, right.
Idiots.
Um, yeah,
Say something cool.
yeah, right. Like,
Smoke fentanyl.
yeah, right.
Get away from me.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
not fun. This one time I
Yeah.
went to San Francisco for a to help a buddy shoot a music video,
Okay.
and I had never been to San Francisco before, but I had heard stories, from right wing news about how like San Francisco is this terrible, dirty place, and there's drug addicts
Hmm.
and homeless people everywhere. And I was like, that's got to be all stories. We were at this club. We were filming a music video. I was like, I'm gonna stop by the liquor store down the street, grab a soda. So I went on my way on my way out of the liquor store. There was someone smoking off the tinfoil in his hand, and I was like, oh snap! This place is kind of grimy. This is a grimy place we're at here.
Yeah, man.
Somebody told me it was probably heroin that they were smoking. They were like, if it's out of the glass pipe, it's probably meth or crack. But if it's out of the tinfoil, that's probably heroin.
They
Uh,
knew their stuff.
Yeah,
They knew what's up.
yeah,
That's
it was.
terrible though, man. Yes, I mean even in Hollywood, like when I
Yeah,
first got here, I stayed on Yucca, which is like right by Hollywood Boulevard, and you know, coming from Oklahoma, I'm thinking I'm gonna see, you know,
yeah,
marble houses and gold streets, you know, and
yeah,
then there's like a homeless dude just like jacking off right in front of my apartment, you know.
yeah,
It's just all over the place. I walked past one woman, she looked both ways, just dropped her shorts and just sprayed, you know,
yeah.
she just peed. So they're
Yeah,
crazy. A lot of
Hollywood's
homeless.
kind of one of the grimiest areas in LA, and it's
Yeah, man.
funny like that. Like that's the perception from other places in America is like, oh yeah, Hollywood is the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, and it's like no, it's the glitz and glamour of like Beverly Hills or like anywhere up in the hills. Like
Yeah,
Hollywood is the least of the glitz and glamour that you'll find.
no, it's true.
Except for the actual the one block on Hollywood Boulevard that they keep clean so all the tourists can come see it and stuff.
Even there, man.
Yeah,
Even there. But, you know, what can we do?
yeah,
You
right.
know, the homeless is it's crazy. When Jordan was telling you I like fighting this because and I said the worldstar moment, it's because I
Yeah.
fought a homeless man
Oh,
and I
really?
went on worldstar
Yeah,
because
I'm
of it.
glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that,
Yeah.
but it has slipped my mind through this great conversation. So,
Well,
what happened that ended up with you fighting a homeless person?
well, first off, I want to say worldstar, credit me, man.
That's
It's
right.
250,000 views. Credit me.
Oh,
Let
snap.
me get my my clout.
So, there's actually a video of this. We can
It's
see the
actually a
video
video.
of it.
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay.
Basically, I was working at Chevron at the time, and there was a manager there. And this homeless dude like developed like an obsession with her and would like write her love letters and stay by her car when she got off work. And um, one night she had asked me to clean something outside, and she came with me. And then he started mouthing off and this and that, and I was telling him, or telling her, let's go, let's go. And I hypothetically, allegedly had brass knuckles in my pocket. And I just had my hand in my pocket and I'm being very calm. He's like right here, just going, right?
Yeah.
And kept going. Then she turned around and started cussing at him. And I put my hand here, like, no, 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 come on. And he grabbed my arm. It was my left arm. And then, my right hand had that and just had to defend myself.
Yeah.
And got fired from it. Sent
Really?
it. Yeah. And I put Jordan had the idea put Colt 45 from the Ted Bundy tape, put that in the background and just send it to some fight videos. Let's see what happens. And it worked.
Yeah.
Worldstar picked it up. The only thing is they muted it, so there's no. So you don't know it's me. You just So
how comfortable are you in getting in an altercation like that? I mean, you possibly allegedly had the knuckles in your pocket. Is that something you have experience with fighting?
A little bit, I was kind of like the person that like people would try a lot,
Okay.
So then you just got to defend yourself,
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it was, just in my life, semi comfortable, I don't mind it. I'm not like a skilled fighter like you, you've trained and this and that.
Not a skilled fighter, but yeah. I can act like it. I can pretend to be.
Acting like it sometimes is half the battle.
I think it is, man. I think like I never got into fights, and I think part of that is because like I kind of acted like I knew more than I let on.
Gotcha.
I had a buddy of mine that like we used to go to shows, and he would get into fights. There was this band Goliath that I was a big fan of. They're semi-local. They would go on tours like across the West Coast, but they were based here. And they had a tendency to have fights break out at their shows. And I remember walking out of one of their shows once right after a fight had broken out. Yeah. And my buddy came out, dude, I just stomped on that dude's head. Let's get out of here.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but like I was never the one to jump into one. I'd be like, nah, I'm good. There was like one close call at one of their shows where somebody on the edge of the pit looked at me and came up and punched me. Jesus. And I was about to go in, and the bassist in my band got between us and was like, dude, calm down. And I was like, All right. All
And
right.
is this before training or
Yeah,
after?
before training. I
See,
only started training.
now
Yeah.
I have a feeling you
Oh
would
yeah.
move your bases out of the way, and you
Yeah.
might have to, show them your training a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
There's always like in martial arts there's like a philosophy of like, oh, we're trained. We don't fight because we could real hurt somebody. But we were inside in carpet, so like that's a different scenario. You're outside on the concrete. You don't want to bash somebody's head open on the concrete. Outside
Yeah,
on carpet though, like you can take them down. You can do
yeah,
whatever you want. Yeah.
that's true,
Are
man.
you a fight fan? Do you watch
I
fights?
do. I'm looking to see what McGregor we're gonna get.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
how do you feel about McGregor? I have some friends that train, and almost every one of them hates him.
yeah.
There's
So
like too cocky, hate him.
yeah, I came into the sport late, and the reason that I started watching the very first fight where I was like, I want to see this card, was him versus Khabib,
Oh shit.
which I got into because I had seen the videos of Khabib wrestling bears, and I was
Oh
like, I
yeah.
want to see this guy who wrestles bears fight this Conor McGregor guy I've heard so much about.
Uh,
Um, and so like I've always kind of not liked McGregor.
Damn, so you were just Team Khabib as soon as you saw the Bears wrestling. You were just
Yeah, I mean,
gotcha.
well, I'm kind of partial towards wrestling. My brother was a wrestler in high school, and one of my best friends in high school was a wrestler. So like I've always been on the grappling side over striking.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I did 2 weeks in high school. I said,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
let me
I,
smoke my
I
weed.
did like 2 weeks too.
Yeah.
And I found out that it costs money to be on a sports team. There was like an $80 fee for the season, which like is nothing. But like I always felt bad asking my parents for money, so I was like, nah, I'm out, guys.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so because that was my first real exposure to the sport, I've always not been a big McGregor fan, but like I think I've liked him more over the years.
Mm.
He kind of rises and falls. Like the
Mm.
before his first rematch with Poirier, like he was really respectful and stuff. I drink his whiskey. Like I
Papa
go,
12.
it's pretty good.
Shout out Papa 12.
Irish whiskey is my favorite type of whiskey, and
Me too.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's where I stand. Are you a McGregor fan?
Man, yeah, in like 2016, I think it was, I don't know who he was about to fight. It might have been 2015, but it was I was seeing like the build up of the Poirier fight and how he was talking all this shit, and then he got him,
Yeah.
and then building up to fight Aldo, and then 13 seconds knocks him out, and
Yeah.
it just kept going and going.
Yeah, I think that's the difference. Like, I think if I would have saw him as a rising star, I would be right on the hype train. But I was introduced to him with him getting just beat the crap out of.
Bro, I'm a fan, man, and when that happened with Khabib, I almost didn't go to work.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm just deflated.
yeah, it's wild. Like, I picked a fantastic card to go in on because like not only was that the main event, but also on that card was Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis, which was a absolute war. Tony Ferguson was drenched in blood by the end of it. And
He's
then
a beast, man.
Derek Lewis versus Volkov, I think, was on that card.
Mm.
But whoever Lewis fought, I know that he won, and then afterwards took his shorts off because that was
His balls was
hot
Yeah.
quote. Yeah. So
Crazy.
like that night overall, bro. I watched it at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and it was so packed that we had to share a table. So it was me and my buddy with this like older kind of redneck dude and his daughter, and then on the table next to us was a group of like Russians or like Middle Eastern dudes. And
shit.
so like this like older redneck guy was like, "Who are you guys rooting for?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like I seen Khabib wrestle some bears, so I'm kind of rooting for him." And I was like, "Well, who are you rooting for?" And he's like, "The white guy." And I was
Jesus.
like, "They're kind of both white, but okay." So I got to watch as this guy like trash talked with the group of Middle Eastern guys next to him. It was just a wonderful environment.
Yeah, Khabib did his thing, man.
Yeah.
He really did.
Yes, sir.
But he'll be back. Sometimes like when he was coming up, he was floaty.
Yeah.
He had distance, and you know it seems like he's more in his boxing stance. He's not as floaty. I'm sure he's still gonna do great.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting how, like, I think one of his tools early on was his unpredictability. Like, he would throw like spinning back kicks and like weird kicks and stuff. And I think that like he'd have a better chance going back to that stuff. And I think that he's said that he's going back to it. I am stoked for him against Chandler though. Like, Chandler's fights are, like, he only came into the sport like a year ago or whatever, and like every single fight that he's had I've watched, and every single one, win or lose, has been an entertaining fight. Like, he goes at it.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
it'll be dope.
So we've reached the end of the podcast, and I always give the guests an opportunity at the end to shout out anybody who you don't think gets enough attention, any music artists, any visual artists, any promoters, any businesses.
First off, shout out you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
I'll shout out Something Dope for the People. Y'all should check that out. Really dope environment. A lot of creatives there. You never know who you're going to meet. DDG just performed in February. You just never know, Shout out my boy Bundy McBuckets. If you need some videos done, you can holler at him. Also, you should go on his podcast. Maybe he can come on your podcast. Oh, yeah. Shout out Jordan. Fucking shout out Oklahoma. Shout out the EP I'm about to drop, and that's pretty much it.
Right on. Before I get to, I'm gonna give a quick shout out here to Brett Hayes. You can check him out on Instagram, BRETTHAZE. He was at Something Dope for the People the other day. He came from England, from the UK, to go to Something Dope for the People, and he was pretty dope. Like, I liked his style. He reminded me a bit of the rapper Kojak, which I don't know if that is an insult to him, because Kojak is Irish, and like it may be insulting to call an Englishman reminiscent of an Irishman. But yeah, his style reminded me of that. I had a question. I should have asked it before I said that.
It's all good.
Dang it. All right. Well, that'll be the end of the podcast then. Oh man, I wish I would have remembered. All right, guys, that's it. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Good night, everybody. When I've been giving up my crown, I'm feeling blessed. Tell me, how are you? Just let me know.